Good morning, everyone. After a week of break, I hope you are looking forward to us continuing in the study of the single intention, Gongchik. So basically, we are going over the. Hold on. Okay. Now it's recording. So anyway, basically what we are doing is to go over a translation of a commentary on this collection of statements made by Khenpo Kunpal throughout his life. So these are statements that his chief disciple and nephew wrote down after the passing of the Guru. He wrote down what he felt to be the most kind of distinctive way in which Khenpo Kunpal addressed important set of issues with regards to how to understand. Fundamentally, it's really about how do we understand all the 84,000 teachings of the Buddha, so to say. Maybe not literally 84,000, but in other words, the diversity of the Buddha's teachings. So how do we understand them? Because if you read this sutra, and even within a sutra, maybe at the beginning it says this, in the middle it says that, at the end it says that, and over here then it says that, over there then it says that. So how do we kind of reconcile, in a way, some of the differences and distinctions? Moreover, there are sutras, that we call belonging to the individual liberation category, belonging to the Bodhisattva category, in belonging to the Vajrayana Vidyadhara category, and how do we make sense of them? Do we say, because these are the highest teachings, and therefore what the highest teachings say would override whatever is said in the lower teachings? So it's with regards to views like that, in these 190 plus statements that Jigten Sumgen addresses, and also giving, and beyond that, giving more kind of profound way of understanding some of the key issues. So these statements are divided into 7 main chapters plus an 8th auxiliary chapter. 7 main chapters plus the 8th auxiliary chapter. So in this book, it's a commentary by a 19th, 20th century Nyingma Khenpo, very learned Khenpo, Khenpo Kunpal. Those of you who did the Bodhisattva class, when we were doing that class, I was relying on Khenpo Kunpal's commentary of Bodhisattva. Khenpo Kunpal was a disciple of Batu Rinpoche, the famous Batu Rinpoche, also another great Nyingma Lama. So Khenpo Kunpal wrote a commentary on the Gongchik. Very brief, so very easy, especially when we don't know much about Gongchik. This is a lot easier as an entryway to Gongchik. And then many of you also studied this whole big commentary of Gongchik written in the 17th century, as well as material from the 12th century. During the height of the pandemic at the beginning, we went through this whole book. So if you have not yet gone through this, good place is to start with this. If you are further and inspired and curious, then you can dive into this. So anyway, we have completed the first 2 chapters, the chapter on the turnings of the wheel of Dharma and the chapter on interdependence, chapter 1 and 2. Then we started the very first statement in chapter 3. And chapter 3 is the chapter that is called the chapter that brings together all the statements covering the topic of the individual liberation vows. Chapter 4 will bring together all the statements that cover the bodhisattva training. And chapter 5 will bring together all the Vajra statements relevant to Vajrayana vows or samayas or bond. So these 3 chapters correspond with what's known more commonly as the 3 vows. Not like vow number 1, vow number 2, vow number 3, but the 3 sets of vows, the 3 levels of training. Individual liberation, Sosotarpa in Tibetan, then Bodhisattva, and then the Vajrayana Samaya. These are the 3 levels of training. So Kyoba Jigten Sumgun, especially following from Atisha's way of understanding these 3 sets of vows, he says that we are to simultaneously cultivate all 3 sets. So although these 3 sets can be seen as a progression, you begin in the individual liberation. At the heart of individual liberation is renunciation. Then you progress to Mahayana, which is for the benefit of all beings and the wisdom of emptiness. Then Vajrayana, which is the primordial purity and devotion. Now, although there is a certain progression from basic to more advanced, Kyoba Rinpoche doesn't see it as, oh, you spend your first 8 years of your Buddhist practice in individual liberation. Oh, when that is stable, then you practice Mahayana. Oh, then when Mahayana is firm, then you practice Vajrayana. No, he doesn't see it that way. So Lord Atisha says, externally, on the outer level, especially rely on the vows of the individual liberation. The smallest set of individual liberation vows are the lay vows of the 5 precepts. Not to kill, not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to lie, and not to get intoxicated. These are the 5. That's the most basic set of the individual liberation vows. Then from there, there is the not taken for a lifetime, but taken for like the duration of 1 day or a few days, is what's known as the 8 precepts. Those also fall under individual liberation vows. Then there are the novice vows, and then there are the fully ordained vows, both male, female. So all of this, Atisha says, on the external level, what you can see, what other people can see, you should conduct yourself according to that set. On the inner level, especially now with regards to motivation, with regards to why we do what we do, why we practice what we practice, let the Bodhisattva trainings be the guide. Let the Bodhisattva trainings be the guide, be the motivation. Then, secretly means there is some degree of secretly meaning. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't go around talking about, oh, Vajrayana this, Vajrayana that. Vajrayana can be very fashionable, Oh, dress up like this, like that, I have to wear earrings now, I have to keep my hair this way, that way, I have to have a purba that I put on my belt, and these are Tibetan cultural things. Indians did not do it that way. Tibetans did it their way. Indians did another way. And now America, or Mexico for that matter, maybe there's some other way, but these are external. Secretly means don't make a big deal. Don't expose yourself. Oh, I'm practicing Vajrayana. So there's that level of secret. But more here, secret means on the innermost level, as we externally conduct ourselves according to the individual liberation vows, motivated by the Mahayana motivation of bodhicitta, then we need to maintain pure view. Pure view means actually the emptiness of inherent existence, and therefore everything is beyond any fixity. Do not fixate. Do not get stuck. Happiness turns up, good. Suffering turns up, good. Don't fixate. View yourself, train to view yourself as deity. View others as deity. And so that's Vajrayana. Kind of in a nutshell. So Kyoba Rinpoche, following especially Lord Atisha's way of understanding the three vows, says you practice all the three vows. You don't like, now I'm in the individual liberation vow. Oh, now I'm on this level. Now I'm at that level. Right from the beginning, he teaches you practice all the levels together. Obviously, on different occasions and different points in your training, in your experience, one level of vows will be more prominent than another. But you should not practice any of them as if they stand on themselves. You have to always understand the interrelationship between the three, and ultimately to know that they are all single intention. The single awakened state that the Buddha communicated to us, hence the title of this text, Gongchik, single intention. Intention means the enlightened mind of Buddhists. That's the meaning of the word intention in the original Tibetan, Gongpa. Only Buddhas have Gongpa. You don't have Gongpa, I don't have Gongpa. So it's a technical term. It's a technical term because in Tibetan language there is honorific for many words. Like they have a plain word for you and I when we say, "Oh, I'm eating." Do you want to eat? We use one word. And when we're referring to like maybe like other people's parents or or your teachers eating, you use another word. That's the honorific. So intention, there is the non-honorific in the Tibetan sense, and that would be how you and I understand intention. And our intentions are motivated by the three poisons, tainted by the three poisons. That's why we don't have Gongpa. Buddhas have Gongpa. This Gongpa, free from the three poisons, and therefore complete freedom. And in the complete freedom, how do Buddhas have complete freedom? From having seen through the delusions. So they have Gongpa. So then, what Jigten Sungren is teaching is the single, the unified, single in the sense of unified. Single not in the sense of only one, not this, 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 only one. Sometimes that's how people understand, like in the monotheistic tradition, sometimes they kind of understand things like this. Only one God, all the rest are false. Here, one or single doesn't mean only one truth, the rest are all false. But rather, there is one truth, one reality runs through everything. Can you see what that one thing is or not? Yes, there are things that are false, but the point of single intention is not to say, I'm right, you're wrong, but rather to encourage us to see that single point that runs through all of Buddha's teachings, that single underlying reality, that one reality that when we see, we become free. When we don't see, we are trapped, we are bound. So the three vows, they have a single point. Okay, so now let's look at statement 2 of chapter 3. So statement 2 says the Vinaya clearly exists even more so within the great vehicle. And so the Vinaya are the texts that primarily focus on the individual liberation vows. So why did Jigten Sumgön have to say this? The Vinaya clearly exists even more so within the great vehicle. That is because there are people who says, oh, the Vinaya, yes, it teaches the individual liberation vows. Oh, and those coincide with the so-called lesser vehicle. So Vinaya, oh yes, people who practice lesser vehicle, they need to really focus on that. They have to focus on that. Sometimes, we say that also, sometimes, Tibetan lamas, they will say that. They see Theravada monks over there. They're like, oh, yes, they practice the Vinaya. They're lesser vehicle. So they have to be very strict about, how they walk, how they sit, how they eat. And then implying, we don't need. And so we can run around town, riding on motorcycles, going everywhere, going to the movie theater, I don't know, this kind of behavior. Implying that, oh, we're not the lesser vehicle. We are the greater vehicle, Sometimes great until, you're not sure where they are anymore, So great until, and doesn't even look like they are holding any vows. It's very dangerous. So apparently in Kyopa Rinpoche's time, there were people who are saying also things like that. Oh, this Vinaya, it's individual liberation vows. That's lesser vehicle. We're the big vehicle people, We don't need to pay attention to those things. We're not so tight, We're not so rigid. We can't do anything because we have wisdom. Suffering comes, finish. All the wisdom you have, all the theory you have, gone. Cannot do anything for you. You're miserable. Then you cause misery to other people. That's how, So Jigten Sumgön here says, no, actually, even more so within the greater vehicle, the Vinaya is very important. It becomes more important, not less important. Okay, Hold on. Looking for. So his commentary, Khenpo Kunpal's commentary, let me read that. Furthermore, it is taught in the Vinaya collection how the Buddha first gave rise to supreme bodhicitta for the sake of others. How he, in the middle, made offerings to all the Buddhas of the 3 incalculable eons, and in the end completed the 6 paramitas, the 6 transcendent practices. These deeds from the stories of the Buddha's past lives are taught in the Vinaya collection. And in connection with those deeds, the dedications and aspiration prayers that he made in order to attain the great awakening and the fruition of that, how he achieved Buddhahood and performed the 12 deeds and so forth. So all of this, the Jataka stories, and in the Vinaya collection, there are many stories where Buddha talks about his past lives, how he trained in the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections, how he first gave rise to bodhicitta. Jiten Sumgön says, here Khenpo Kunpal, explaining Jiten Sumgön's position. He says all those are found in the so-called lesser vehicle Vinaya collection of texts, of scriptures, of sutras. So how can you say, the Vinaya, that's for the lesser vehicle. In fact, the Vinaya, many Mahayana teachings are found in there. Thus, because of these facts, the Vinaya indeed clearly exists even more so within the great vehicle. Clearly exists and is relevant to the great vehicle. If the Vinaya teachings were to belong to the path of the lesser vehicle, how would it be possible to attain the qualities of bodhisattvas and Buddhahood through that path? That would not be possible. In other words, if the Vinaya teachings are only about lesser vehicle, then all those stories, all those examples that the Buddha gave in the Vinaya about how he trained in this lifetime, he trained in this, in that lifetime he trained in this, and therefore now he's telling his monks and nuns, you should train in this, you should avoid that, you should cultivate that, all those things. They are clearly part of the Mahayana path. And so we have to have this, we need to understand this point, and not think, in Mahayana, we don't need the Vinaya and the individual liberation vows. That would be a mistake. Looking back, the statement before, right? Let's go look at the first statement, which has a longer commentary, but I just want to look at the first statement again. The first statement of this chapter says, the sacred Dharma teachings of the Vinaya are common to all the vehicles. So there's two kind of different categories being brought together. One is the notion of the 3 vehicles, and one are the 3 baskets. Right at the beginning, when we studied this text, I said there are sets of 3s. There are sometimes clearly related, sometimes there's overlapping, and so part of this is also sorting out in some ways. Or for Jigten Sungmun, it's not so much about sorting out, differentiating, but seeing the oneness. So the relevant three here we're talking about is the three vehicles, the three baskets, the three vows. Yeah, three vehicles, three turnings, three vows. So here, and often the three baskets, directly or indirectly, people think they're exactly the equivalent of the three trainings. So the three baskets, the Vinaya basket, the Sutra basket, and the higher Dharma basket. So then they will say, the Vinaya basket, basket meaning collection of texts, that is individual liberation. And then they say, and therefore that is lesser vehicle. So they're making this distinctions, clear distinctions. They say, lesser vehicle, individual liberation vows, Vinaya basket, first turning. So they do that. Sutra basket collection, great vehicle, Bodhisattva training, second turning. Vajrayana vehicle, Vidyadhara Samaya training, higher Dharma basket, and then Vajrayana. So in other traditions, they tend to draw these very clear. These are all equivalents, and therefore these are three distinctive. Jigten Sungmun doesn't do that. He says it's not like that. So that's why 3.1 says, Vinaya are common to all vehicles. Because there is this, right? To say Vinaya, lesser vehicle. Jigten Sungmun says, no. Vinaya, relevant to lesser vehicle. If you take the lesser vehicle path, relevant to the great vehicle, and relevant to the Vajrayana vehicle. Relevant to first turning, second turning, third turning. So that's 3.1. In the outline that will match statements from chapter 8, the auxiliary chapter, here Rinchen Changchup tells us that 3.1 should be read together with 8.17, which is the statement in 8.17 is all Dharma teachings are included within each of the three vows. So that's another way of saying what is said in statement 1. So each of the three vows contain the Dharma teachings of the others. So again, emphasizing the single unity that runs through everything that the Buddha taught. So this is statement 2 of chapter 3. So tomorrow we will cover statement 3. We'll go look at that. Probably cover a couple of statements from tomorrow.